see, Julie Bowen. Morning, Judy. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Alison Boyce, morning. Marjorie Bovell, morning to you. Yeah. Lena Jennings, morning. Carol Boyce, John 123, morning to you. Lynette Harris, morning. Point Commander Sharon, morning. Deborah Duranty, morning. Lynette Harris, Elizabeth Allen, Aline Lewis, morning. Rudy Nicholas, morning to you. Sir Ruth Franton, morning. Ashlyn Robertson, Sean Edwards, morning. Morning, Diane. Anne Niles, morning. Ria Ed, morning to you. Neil Francois, morning, sir. Say good morning to President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Marcia Keegan. Good morning to Mother Tuna Puna, Mr. Chance. Morning to you. Right, 10 minutes, 6:37. Right. This is going to be another early morning, folks, because as I indicated to you all, I will be traveling over the weekend, so I have a lot of stuff to wrap up before I jump out. Alison Rogers, morning to you. Kathy Belfon. Deborah, morning. Right. Okay. Let me just get this here. Okay. Right, so let me jump into it. So morning to all of you guys. Joy Ragunanan, morning. Gemma Alexander, morning to you. So let me just start with what is a developing story or a trending story outside of Trinidad that seems to be getting some degree of international attention. U.S. couple likely dead after yacht hijacked by fugitives in the Caribbean. So it says authorities in Grenada on Monday said an American couple who vanished last week after their yacht was allegedly hijacked by fugitives in the Caribbean were likely killed and thrown overboard. During a press conference Monday, the country's police force said officers are still searching for Kathy Brendel, 71, and Ralph Hendry, 66, though the effort does not seem hopeful. Brendel and Hendry were last seen a week ago near a beach in Grenada, and the married couple from North Virginia had planned to spend the winter months living on their catamaran in the Caribbean. Don McKenzie, police commissioner of the Royal Grenada Police Force, said the couple's yacht called Simplicity was hijacked by 3 escaped prisoners from the South St. George police station. The 3 men, identified as Ron Mitchell, 30, Trevor Robertson, 19, and Atiba Stanislaus, 25, escaped on February 18th but were arrested again 3 days later. McKenzie said information gathered by police suggests that the fugitives disposed of the American couple while traveling to nearby St. Vincent from Grenada on the stolen vessel. Police have not yet found any bodies, and the Simplicity was discovered abandoned on a St. Vincent beach on Wednesday, the same day as the arrests. So it says here, the investigation is ongoing. The 3 fugitives who escaped a police station holding cell were jointly charged in December in connection with a violent robbery. One of them, Mitchell, faced an additional charges, including rape, attempted rape, indecent assault, and causing harm. Friends and family members of Brendel and Hendry told CBS News that the couple, who had been married for 27 years, set sail on Simplicity for Hampton, Virginia earlier this year. And since police have not yet confirmed the deaths of Brendel and Hendry, their loved ones are still holding out hope for a safe return. The couple's children, Nick Bureau and Brian Hendry, told NBC News Washington they first learned of their parents' disappearance from the U.S. consular officials in Barbados. So that's a developing story there. Out in Grenada, Grenada is one of those countries, those Caribbean countries that has been hailed within recent times for their yachting services, and that one of the points that the local opposition, our opposition, has been making within recent past is that with respect to the yachties and Trinidad and Tobago, we are no longer yachty friends. A development such as this certainly would have an impact on persons going to Grenada, albeit that the 3 fugitives were held in St. Vincent. Well, if it is that it was Trinidad that this had happened, we wouldn't hear the end of that from the motley crew across on that side of the political fence. Yeah, but I hear no much thing, even the yachties and foreigners are safe and what thing. They would have raked the police over the coast, the government over the coast, the Minister of National Security, and anybody else that they could have except themselves. Because remember, the war is on the land and not on the sea. Right? The Coast Guard would have get jammed. Everybody would have get jammed for that. But they're going to talk about that. No, we don't want to. We can't speak about these things because then it would support the view or the perspective that, hey, it's not only Trinidad and Tobago has crime. Because when you listen to them on the other side, you would swear, of all the Caribbean islands, Trinidad is the only one. Trinidad and Tobago is the only one that has a crime problem. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. It's only Trinidad and Tobago. So we can't talk about that. Leave that. Hush all your mouth. Shh. We don't want to do anything to make Rowley look good. Right? Or to defend Rowley. Remember the anti-Rowley campaign back in 2015? Touch on that a little bit this morning, anytime that we have. But just thought I would make mention of that because I saw it last night and it's all over the international news. If it's not being spoken about directly, it's running on the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen. So it's a prominent developing story right now in the US. Those 2 American citizens who, well, more than likely were killed because they said when the police inspected the vessel, they found blood stains, and well, they suspected the couple were thrown overboard by those 3 guys, 3 young men. So you see how that continues to develop. Also in international news, we touched a little bit on the international this morning. I need to play this one. When I saw this, it reminded me of our opposition leader. Let me play this. Never a dull moment across in the U.S.
Outside of tonight's primary, Trump has been getting some pushback for remarks that he made during a rally in Columbia last night.
Well, the former president claimed that his 4 criminal indictments had boosted his support among Black Americans because they see him as a victim of discrimination.
So he even went so far as to compare his legal journey to the historic legacy of anti-Black prejudice in the legal system. Take a listen.
And then I got indicted a 2nd time, and a 3rd time, and a 4th time. And a lot of people said
that's why the black people like me, because they had been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones. You see, that's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it?
Well, those comments were said at the Black Conservative Federation's Gala, an event that was put on by Black elected officials, including Byron Donalds, who just saw him there, of Florida, and Wesley Hunt of Texas. Trump also said that he knows and understands many Black people because of his properties were built by Black construction workers.
Well, Trump's opponents have criticized the speech as racist and insulting to Black voters. A spokesperson for the Democratic National Committee said in part that Trump is showing Black voters exactly what he thinks of them, and his ideas to win them over are as corny and racist as he is. Republicans face an uphill battle in courting Black voters who are overwhelmingly supportive of the Democratic Party. Only 25% of Black Americans said they had a favorable view of Trump in an AP NRC poll, and that was back in November.
All right, so voting for a candidate was not the only thing on the ballot today.
Yeah, boy. Interesting times. So the man says because he was indicted, that he can relate to Black Americans and what they've been going through. And so because of that, because of his 4 indictments and his 91 charges, Black Americans are now flocking to him. And he said, this light is so bright in here, I can hardly see, but I could see the black ones. Can't see much people, but I can see the black ones. Wonder why? Yeah, the light is too bright, shining off for the white folks. So I was watching Jimmy Kimmel last night, and they were able to, they covered this story, and they were able to pan the room. And although it was an event that was hosted by Black politicians, there was scarcely a Black person to be seen in that room. Predominantly white. And he makes comments. Further to that, he has now launched a sneakers campaign. So there's now a sneaker called Trump. It's a gold sneaker, high top, with a big T on it. And, Mr. Trump is of the view that, well, there was some guy on Fox News the other night who was saying, Mr. Trump has been able to reach the Black community with these sneakers because, Black people just love themselves some sneakers. Sneakers on, with his collard greens and cornbread. Yeah, they just love that. So they gravitated towards him because of that. And also, jerseys, the merchandise that he's selling with his mugshot, seems to be selling, according to him, most prominently to the Black community. Because we can relate to Mr. Trump now. This is the same man who, remember, was it the New York 5 that they called them? The 5 young Black men who were arrested and charged and jailed for rape or something like that. And turns out that they were innocent. The things that Mr. Trump and his father would have done with respect to discrimination and in terms of their policies renting to persons of African descent. Yeah, but all of a sudden now he's their champion. Okay. All right. But when I saw that, right, and I listened to the leader of the opposition last night talking about, anyway, we'll come to that just now. We'll come to that. So Mr. Rodney Charles, aka Duppy, is upset because let me get this here. And wants to sue the media and anybody else for claiming that he said or that he suggested. Let me get it here. Where is it? Yeah. Right. Yeah, Duppy. Let me get you here. So, right. So, give me 1 second. Let me open this here, folks. So, and when I spoke on the issue on Sunday, a caller did call in and mention that Mr. Charles had indicated that he was going to sue and that he had his lawyer on standby, putting together a list of names of all those persons or entities who would have claimed over reports that he called Naparima MP Rodney Charles is threatening legal action against several media houses over reports which he called a palpable lie at a recent joint select committee regarding the topic of additional taxes on the foreign income of local artists. And you recall I would have read out a release from the Ministry of Finance in which they indicated that that suggestion came from an opposition MP and that it was not government policy. Why am I not finding this story now? All right, just now. Let me see if I get it here. Gosh, there's so many. When you have so many things to talk about. Let me see what they have here. Right. Right. I could use this. Right. Naparima MP Rodney Charles is warning of legal action against those who continue to say that he had called at the last GSC for additional taxes on the foreign incomes of local artists. Following media reports and a release from the Ministry of Tourism that attributed this statement to him, Mr. Charles issued a formal denial. He insisted that he did not issue such a call and believes there should be no new taxes on artists or the population at large. Mr. Charles says despite his denial, some media houses continue to attribute the statement to him. He says his lawyers are compiling a list of all ministers and media houses who perpetrated this egregious falsehood with a view to taking legal action. There was another story that went on to talk about, how he was so hurt and so on by these falsehood and so on. This is not the same man who quite recently mounted platform after platform talking about the Balize house and making claims that Balize house cost 100 million and 150 million and all of that. That was not a palpable lie, Rodney. You're a quantity surveyor, so you just drive past Balize house. Right, 150 million. Right, yes. He pull out the protractor and what's that thing they use in technical drawing? He angle up so and angle so, right from his car while the car moving it. Yes, 200 million. But you're vexed now because a statement was attributed to you and you're saying you never said that because you realize that such a statement could get you into some hot water with your leader, right? Because how can you make such a statement when the party to which you belong since 2010 has been anti-tax, talking about axe the tax, and when we were in government, we raised no new taxes and all of that. And then how could you come now and propose such a tax? You can't do that. You want your leader to bend you over and give you a good spanking like she gave to Gary Griffith last night? Coming to that too, just now. Yeah, so he's all hurt and he vexed and he upset and he want to take legal action. That's, these are the same people who love to talk about democracy and freedom of speech and all of that. But every time they find themselves on the opposite end of what it is they do to everybody else, they quit to run to courthouse and want to get a lawyer and want to sue people and all kind of nonsense. So you can't say what it is. But they must do that, right? They could come and do live every day and whatnot and make all kind of allegations and say the nastiest things about everybody else. But don't do it to them. Do so, don't like so. Like if you get charity begins at home to go abroad. I haven't had opportunity to go back to listen to that GSC meeting yet so that I can report on exactly what he said, find the clip and play it. But I will try and do so if I get some time today. And maybe on Thursday morning, I will play it for you all to hear exactly what it is he said. Because in all of these stories that I have pulled up, where he's complaining, at no point in time does Duppy actually say, well, this is what I said. He just said, I didn't say. Well, but you're not telling us what you said. Quote and tell us what you said. But none of the stories, you could find that. So what is left up to interpretation? Well, I'll pull it back and listen to it and hear exactly what it is he said. And then we will all have a listen and formulate our own opinion. But all this stuff but he had, but his lawyer and all kind of thing, rest assured, that is going to go nowhere because, I mean, he's another irrelevant one. That story has come and gone, 9-day wonder. It didn't even have legs for 9 days. So next, so many other things. So that ain't going nowhere. So all this talk about it's a palpable lie and egregious lie and all of that. Miss us with your BS now, and foolishness. You're on your way out anyway. As I said, you don't plan to leave politics in a coffin, unlike your political leader, who it seems is hell bent on leaving Parliament in a coffin. All right. So that's your choice. But anyway, good for you. This is the same man who led the No Rowley campaign. So let me see if I get this here. You all remember that? Don't call him Dr. Rowley. We will ostracize him. This is the same man who used to be going around in the hot sun every day and spinning a wheel to pick a topic to talk Dr. Rowley on. Shameless. Shameless. But you vexed today. When you were doing the same things, and the party to which you belong come in the parliament and made the most egregious accusations through Vanilla Allen Toppin, another one like yourself. Yeah? Another one like yourself. Token. What did you do? Did you condemn it? No. Did you speak out on it? No. So then you need to shut up now and take a dose of what it is you're always giving out. That loudmouth lout. This next one. Every day, every opportunity, as I keep saying, Dr. Rowley is living rent-free in his head. Right? Dr. Rowley started out from living in a tent in his head, and now he's living in a mansion. Because it seems like whatever accommodation Dr. Rowley is living in rent-free in his head, it continues to grow on a daily basis. Yeah, so the amount of property tax Dr. Rowley had to pay in that man head, I tell you, he's obsessed with Dr. Rowley. And more so, because Dr. Rowley had no time with him. The worst thing Dr. Rowley could have done was at the last meeting when he spoke about why it is, not the last meeting, the meeting before, when he spoke about why it is he has not sued Anil Roberts, and he said, no, leave him right there. I want him right where he is there so that the population could see and hear the nastiness that comes. Well, boy, like he can't sleep since Dr. Rowley says that. Because no mention, the doc has made no mention of him after that. I mention here, take a little something. And we are desperate to hear from you. You want me to mention your name in my mouth. I wouldn't mention your name, but all right. Take that. And you run with that until the next 6 months or so if I care to bring your name up again. And you could feel good. Trying to beat Dr. Rowley. But Dr. Rowley is a master politician. He knows how to play with their heads. So they're going to call up his name and call up his name. And no time at all. Next. So let me see if I can get this thing here. Where is it? Where is it? This one. So let's see if I get this here. Right. That's not it. Just give me 1 second, folks. As I said, there's so many things to touch on. Right. Is this it? Yes. Following are excerpts from leaked emails read by the PNM's Camille Robinson Regis at a public meeting in San Juan on June 5th, 2014. From Rodney Charles to UNC activists, May 16. We propose launching a full-scale attack on Keith Rowley. Come the morning of May 19, 2014, that is the morning after his expected landslide victory. That landslide victory was in the PNM's internal election. We absolutely need to bring down his polling ratings. We are therefore asking you and all of our supporters in whatever way you can to be a part of that attack. Always refer to him as Rowley, not Dr. Keith Rowley. Try also to have short sound bites that speak to his negatives. His name should be side by side with the negative. Example, Rowley is unfit to lead. He is too arrogant. He does not entertain views different from his. The central themes of our attack should be, and you can add to these, but the information must be factual and concentrate on Rowley. 1. Keith Rowley, by his acknowledged arrogance, dictatorial attitudes, and past behavior, is temperamentally unsuited for the role of Prime Minister of a complex, cynical, and very divided society, compounded by a PNM-induced dependency syndrome and all the challenges resulting from past failed PNM policies. accusing PNM of a dependency syndrome, but then all they wanted was, when we were in office between 2010 to 2015, we gave out 48,000 food cards and baby grant and land for the landless and all of these things. Come, all these populist things. So hold that. Come, the government will give you. Look. Keith Rowley in the PNM internal elections has articulated no policies whatsoever to take this country forward by confronting any of the myriad challenges facing the country, like health, escalating crime, income inequality, rising poverty, and youth alienation. Let me read this again, right? Just let me read that one again. Keith Rowley, and this is point number 2. This is what they're telling people to see. This came from, allegedly, Doppy sending this to UNC activists. 2. Keith Rowley in the PNM internal elections has articulated no policies whatsoever to take this country forward by confronting any of the myriad challenges facing the country. Any of the myriad challenges facing the country when? This is 2014, right? And this is what Rodney Charles telling activists to say. Right, whatsoever, to take this country forward by confronting any of the myriad challenges facing the country, like health. Also, you mean there were health challenges facing the country in 2014, Rodney? Really? Escalating crime? Really, Rodney? In 2014, the country was facing escalating crime, and Keith Rowley didn't offer any plans to treat with that during the PNM internal election campaign. Income inequality, that existed in 2014, Rodney. Rising poverty, Rodney. In 2014, rising poverty was facing the country. Really? Well, that's not the impression that we get from you all for the last 8 years. We were led to believe that between 2010 and 2015, Trinidad and Tobago was a veritable utopia. Yeah, it was a paradise. Everything was perfect. And youth alienation, all those things. This is Rodney Charles in 2014, highlighting all of these, as he says, challenges facing the country, to which Keith Rowley has no plan on how to address it. But today, you ain't gonna sit there and singing that song. They ain't talking that. Nah, none of those things existed. We imagine that. Escalating crime and rising poverty. Rising poverty. Okay, 2014, where they still had a whole year and something left in office. Poverty was rising then. How? How was it rising? And Kamla removed VAT off of 7,000 food items, and then Chol gave 14% to public servants, right? And you had food card and baby grant and all these different things, and yet still, according to Rodney Charles, poverty was rising. But we would get the impression listening to them that that only started when this administration came into office, because Keith Rowley destroyed the economy and he mashed up the country and everybody poor and they're suffering and they can't buy this and they can't buy that and they can't afford to feed their families and send their children to school. Because rising poverty started between 2015 September to now. But they didn't have that. But you see, sometimes it's good to go and do research on these bastards when they put their foot in their mouth, they're size 12. He has lazily co-opted Manning's failed Vision 2020, which he has now renamed Vision 2030. That Vision 2020 calls for Alcoa and Alutrin smelters, an ESSA iron and steel integrated complex, an LNG train 10 in the absence of new discoveries of oil and natural gas, a Petrotrin gas optimization and gas to liquids project, despite the fact that these have placed Petrotrin in precarious debt situation, large state-owned farms, which will displace our small farmers, and an unrealistic US 37,000 plus per year capita GNP. You see all of the things that Mr. Manning, that is in Vision 2020, that Mr. Manning's vision was that by 2020, we should have been a developed nation. And look at all the things that was in there, or that is in there, that Mr. Manning had in train to develop the country's economy, which they cancelled. So they criticized Alcoa and the Alutrin smelter, so we know that when, by the way, we have no smelter. An ESSA iron and steel integrated complex. But they want to kill Keith Rowley administration for the steel plant in Point Lisas in Cuba, right? Metal. Oh, I'm not really think the plant shut down and people lost their work and all of that. But here it is that they were criticizing Mr. Manning's proposal in Vision 2020 for an iron and steel integrated complex, an LNG train 10, all of these different things. He's saying, yeah, beat Rowley on that. 4, Keith Rowley has shown himself unable to be a team player, and in particular, and in a party historically characterized by strict internal discipline. Keith Rowley led a mutiny, denounced his party publicly as being the most corrupt in the country's history, and called for a kangaroo trial of the past PNM captain. Team playing is essential to synergize and integrate diverse skills and competencies in our country. His thin leadership CV with successful major project has he brought to fruition in his entire career, which did Kamala bring into her in her entire career. While he introduced one man, one vote, which he essentially copied from us. Really? Okay. We propose 3 weeks of attacks, which will be tweaked to factor in Union March and our anniversary celebrations. After this, we will test polling figures to see which resonates and what changes we need to make. This is a small but essential part of our fight back. As always, we are amenable to wiser counsel. Rodney Charles. So they're fighting an election. This is 2015. And rather than fight an election based on the things that you did to benefit the population, you decided, well, here's what. It's more important for us to focus on the opposition leader, a man who has not been tested as a prime minister, but we realize he has potential, but we cannot focus on that potential. Instead, let us paint him as being this raging bull. Yeah? Talk about that and highlight that. And when all of these things didn't work, hey, Vanilla, we have a work for you, girl. You update shopping topping. Yes, misuse the government credit card to withdraw money despite the fact that you're getting a salary as a cabinet minister and all the other perks. And then say, well, you didn't know you couldn't use the card for that. But the misleader of the opposition, the mistress of the mask, right? The superior bat had time to talk about Camille Robinson Regis. But like they forget shopping topping. So they call Vanilla. Here now, girl, this anti-Rowley campaign, we need a little something. What were you doing so far, Rodney? We are every day Rodney going and stand up by a corner in a 3-piece suit, right? And his bald head. When he go home, he do so. It's only flakes. There's a whole tube of sunscreen every morning he had to be rubbing on his head. Go and stand up by pick a corner this morning. Yeah. Which corner I'm going by today, right? Let's see if I could find one that have a little shade. Because a 3-piece suit in 34-degree weather is pressure. Right? While the others who send you there sit down in the AC and laughing at you like a clown, you there spinning wheel. Right? What's the topic today? All right. But like that wasn't bearing enough fruit. So they call Vanilla and say, hey, we needed to do something. A hack job in the parliament. Come and call Rowley a rapist and say this and the father is a rapist and all kind of thing. Yeah? How did that help you all? But you're upset today. You're upset? You should have been upset a long time. Because we upset about you long time. You and the rest are tokens. Readily step up. Yes. Look me here, leader. I can do it. Stupid. You will be happy to see the back of Rodney Charles and many others on that side of the fence. But anyway, moving right along again in the interest of time. So last night at the Monday Night Forum, next week I believe they're in Sangre Grande. I shouldn't even be advertising that. Not that it matters because nobody cares to listen to their waste of time anti-crime talks, not even their former partner, Gary Griffith. So last night, they brought up, it seems last night was crook night. So most of the speakers who they brought up last night had neither audacity. Well, they had audacity. Yes, let me say that. But they say everybody who have issues against them, all they come. Tonight is all your night. All they are playing a long time, so come. So apparently they were in Caroni Central. So of course, Arnold Ram, who is the member of parliament for Caroni Central, had to speak. And the audacity of this man to come and talk about tea and tech and contracts being given out and so on, and whether or not there was proper procurement. And I'm saying, you for real, pal? You can't be serious. You come in to talk about public utility companies and proper procurement when you were fired from not one but 2 public utilities companies, TSTT and TNTech, for misbehavior, for gross misconduct. You serious? You cannot be serious. I always say if hypocrisy was a party. And this man Wolf hastily coming up to talk about that, So, of course, we had to post in the comments the article why Ram was fired. Well, boy, all of the Well, they like to call PNM supporters latrine flies. Well, all of the maggots came out. Oh, they vexed because they can't deny. This is not a claim that is being made. This is an actual newspaper article that goes into great detail about this man who is speaking at the time, who has the audacity and the temerity to talk about proper procurement and with respect to public utility companies, when he flouted every procurement regulation it have on the face of the earth with respect to a particular project valued at millions of dollars, right? A project which fell under him. Millions of dollars he cost this company. Don't even know if the contractor ever paid back the money because they said that they couldn't at the time and they wanted to propose a payment plan. But he, shameless as he is, come up to talk about proper procurement and so on. When you drop the comment, the article, by they start, they're not speaking to the article. Yeah, don't study them. Every time we have a meeting, them PNM latrine flies, they start coming and buzzing around and all of that and so on. Deal with the article. He is speaking, and the article addresses something that he is speaking to. Look at the hypocrisy. Well, when they couldn't take it no more, man decided, you see me, they're coming off of this stream and they're going on the other one. Because they were viewing on Douglas Politics stream, they decided going on the UNC page to listen to it. Because they couldn't take it no more. So every time when Padarat came up to speak, hey, he had the audacity to speak. Look, Padarat and family members under probe, financial probes, they couldn't handle that. Treat with the article, the man speaking there, right? When Julie John coming up and they looking to bust out, they hold on, the article for Julie coming just now, where they're going, wait. Hold all your horses. And then, of course, the mistress of the mask, she decided she came up to speak. Well, this morning, I am sure Gary Griffith probably didn't have a very good night's sleep last night. He couldn't sleep on his back because his backside would have been in severe pain, welts from the cocktail that Pasadi Sessa put on him last night. You know if he coming or going this morning. He's a man who always quick to respond. Well, last night, the godly lady put him over her lap and she gave him a good spanking. Man, she beat that like a rented mule. Without mentioning his name, but I can tell you, if we had any doubts whatsoever as to the future or the fate of the accommodation between Gary, the NTA, and the UNC, I can tell you it is dead. Dead. Gary's ego will not allow him to overlook Mrs. Pasadi Sessa's performance last night. Certainly not. Let me get this here. Yes, huh? I don't know how many of you all listen, but yeah. I told you all on Sunday that the UNC would have, and Pasadi Sessa mentioned it last night, that they would have gone back to look at the election results from since 1995 come forward to see where they would have gotten their votes and which districts and so on and which polling divisions they would have gotten their votes in the various seats. And they're focusing on the marginal seats now. So rather than just do a widespread campaign, they're going to look to see from 1995 come forward to 2023 local government election, where they would have gotten their votes, which streets, where their votes reside, and they're going to go back to those particular areas to see if it is that they could have a chat with these people. And I want to tell Mrs. Pasadi Sessa something, that while that may seem like a brilliant strategy to you all, and in fact, she spoke a lot about the campaigning strategy, the election strategy for 2025, so much so that you have a number of UNC activists who are upset this morning because they say she gave out too much information and all of that. Right. That the UNC of 1995 is not the UNC of 2023. And it makes no sense, but it might make sense to all here, that if you go back and you look at the election results from 95, come forward, and you see, well, okay, we got this amount of votes here and whatnot. You all got a lot of votes in 2010. 3 years later, you all lost a lot of those votes, right? So a lot of people who voted for you all between 1995 and probably 2010 and so on, plenty of them no longer support you all. Even The 309,000 that we have 300 and something thousand, and she keeps repeating that 300 and something thousand supporters. Really? But you all couldn't even muster 200,000 for the local government election. After getting over 200,000 in 2019, you got less than that in 2023, because you have a lot of people who support the UNC, who claim to be loyal to the UNC, who just want to see your back. But we tell them no. Bear it out until after the general election, because it's clear she has no intention of going anywhere until after the general election. Now, once she is handed her third defeat, it will be interesting to see if the UNC will continue to keep faith with her. But it don't matter. They could. In fact, they're encouraged so to do, because the next election in 2030, by then Prasad Bisesa will be almost 80 years old. But hey, Joe Biden is what, 81? So there is precedent. So let relax on herself now. The woman still has something in her life. She still has some juice. Okay? So keep her right there. But if that is your strategy, and I'll figure that, well, yeah, we got this amount of votes here and whatnot and stuff. Stick with that strategy. See where it will get you. Because it couldn't help you in 2023 with UNC, Jack is back, Gary the Great, OWTU. Maybe you all got a little help in San Fernando with the OWTU, where John Michael Ali Bokas was able to wrest that seat from the PNM by a very small margin. In fact, when we look at the two of the seats that you all got in San Fernando West, and the margin was, I think, 27 votes by 11 votes. 2 seats at the PNM should have won handsomely. You all didn't win that because of any renewed confidence that the people had in you. You all won that seat because PNM people, as is often norm, who tell a man voting and who vexed with Dr. Rowley for whatever. Because as I told you all, in one of the seats that the PNM lost, they shouldn't wonder why they lost by 11 votes. Right? I personally know somebody who had a family who had about 13 votes, and they didn't go and vote. I can't remember what it is they told me they were upset about. And because of that, the whole family decided they didn't to go and vote. And for that, a seat was lost. Because we choose to be petty betties, some of us. And then we refuse to look at the bigger picture. Right? Refuse to look at the bigger picture. So, as a result of that, they got an additional seat that they could beat their chest about. Okay, go ahead. You think that will help all, yeah? Yes, it will help you all. Stick with that strategy, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. But let me see if I want to pull her up here last night. Let's see if I get this here. All right, I'm going to kill all it with this one. Yeah, there's a crazy indulgence morning, so bear with me. Let me turn this thing off here. Yeah, there's a crazy indulgence. Just let me turn this off. This one. Right. I'm waiting patiently to see what Gary Griffith is going to see this morning. Can't wait. Could barely wait. Oh boy. So, where is it? Come up. Where did she go? Right. Get this here.
UNC continues to bring together high ratings, massive turnout everywhere. We can attribute the success to hard work, to consistent leadership that brings a huge puzzle together. Something, as I said, not easy to do. As we continue our journey towards the next election, I agree that we should embrace individuals or groups who share our vision for mainstream politics rather than just a parochial vision. I want you to listen carefully to what I'm saying. We will embrace individuals or groups who share our vision for development, for service to people. But at the same time, we must demand discipline an equal effort from those who wish to join us. We must demand equal effort from those who wish to join us. Third parties are welcome, but they have to also carry their weight. Our anti-crime town hall meetings illustrate that when the national discourse is elevated, so too is the consciousness of people about national issues. And thus far, the feedback has been exceedingly positive. The notion that people want something other than the PNM or UNC, or that our politics is tribal, is not true. The concept, the notion that some peddle about, that people want something other than the UNC or the PNM, meaning people want them. That's what that means. And then say a vote for us is a tribal vote. It is not true. That is more of a talking point used by people seeking to forge a political space that has never been carefully analyzed. Democracy rules allow each person to vote or not to vote.
Right.
They do not specify how you must vote. Some persons are single issue voters. Some people come out and vote, you know why? Because crime is at all-time high. Some will come out and vote about wages. Some will vote on infrastructure. Some will vote on other issues. So you have single issue voters. And you have multi-issue voters. The UNC has all of these voters within us. It is up to the parties to present arguments to get these votes, whether single voters, single issue voters,
Yes.
and multi-issue voters. Our national voting patterns also reflect single and multi-issue voters, and we must say so since some third parties, they are campaigning on the false idea, the false notion, the false concept that a vote for the UNC or a vote for the PNM is racially motivated. So in their own breath, they're condemning these two major parties in our country by saying they represent something different. There's a great amount of diversity in both our parties. Is that true? Look at this crowd here tonight. Look at this crowd. Look at the UNC crowd. Look at the diversity here tonight. It reflects our society as a whole. There may be policies that are pursued by this government that we say geographically motivated, geographic discrimination, and so on. So tell me when, Sandra, you go to vote, you're voting for the UNC because you're voting for a race. You're voting for policies and you're voting for issues. And that's what we must all remember, whoever we are, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity. When you cut my hand, you remember the Shakespeare? If you cut my hand, you will see the same red blood flowing in my veins as that blood that is flowing in yours. Is that not true? We are only one race. There's only one race. It is the human race. And that's what we are. And that is what we must work for. And that was what we will work to rescue everybody in this country. There's a great amount of diversity, I see. The UNC is open to working with any smaller party with a common purpose and vision. I again publicly invite any smaller party, stakeholder, independent or non-aligned group to speak with us so we can work together to rescue our country. We will work with anyone, even if they haven't seen eye to eye with me in the past. We will work with them because I don't tote feelings. I really don't tote feelings. I'm not toting feelings. I don't mind if somebody said that something bad about me and insulted in the past. I don't mind that. I can forgive that. What do we say? Let bygones be bygones. Let us move on for the greater good, Renel. Let us move on, Dr. Bodo, for the greater good of everybody. I think I started off, if not here, it was coming. Even Jesus Christ, I told you, had.
Well, boy, that was just the start of it. She spent most of her speech last night basically letting Gary know, listen, the NTA is a small party, all right? And we give all your blight in the election because we thought you had some value. We thought that you could bring something to the table. But you ain't really bring nothing to the table, because when we analyze the results of the election, we see the majority of votes that the 16,000 votes that you're claiming the NTA get, about 13,000 or 14,000 of that was really UNC supporters who voted for the NTA because we didn't put up a candidate. So really, it was a waste of time. And we're not seeing you bringing anything of value. So if you want to come, you could come, but take a seat in the back. It's no more you sitting around the table. You could sit on the chairs on the side. Okay? No more prominence for you, Gary. Because you ain't bringing nothing. And then to add insult to injury, we give you a blight. And now you're back talking our anti-crime meetings. You're saying that these meetings are basically for people to come and cry and complain about how crime affected them and so on. But you ain't doing nothing of substance. And you're trying to peddle or benefit or ride the back of the UNC supporters. And we're not having it. Do not disrespect. As I should tell him, do not disrespect UNC members and supporters. I will not have it. I will not tolerate it. So you and your small party, come and show us. She said, go and have your own meetings and see if you could bring out a crowd. You could bring out a crowd like this. When you could bring a crowd like this, come and talk to me. Until then, pat down. Hush your mouth. Hush your mouth, Gary. Quiet. But I tell you, Gary probably did not sleep last night. As I said, he couldn't sleep on his back because his back, the amount of welts on his back and his backside. Yeah, from the neck go down to his heels was licks last night. So this morning, some of the people, the UNC activists who are upset with that accommodation are happy this morning that not only after she beat him, she threw him under the bus, the car, and everything else she could have found. Right? I wait to see how he's going to respond to that, because he was on Fall Street talk show on 91.9 on Sunday. And again, he basically referred to, let me see how he described it. Let me get the term here that he used to describe it. Let me see how he described it just now. Where is it? Yes. Total madness and stupidity is how Gary Griffith describes the UNC crime talks. Total madness and stupidity. So they're now going at each other's throats. Just the other day, they were in love, They were in love. All of them. Jacques on one side and Gary on the next. Oh, they're so in love. My boy who put on the blue shirt and then pull a stunt when he went to talk on the platform, take out the shirt and show. Look how I have on a yellow jersey. He's a hybrid. All of that you do, all that stunt you pull, Gary. And look how they kick you aside now. What are you going to do? Marsha Walker was telling you, but you don't listen. You know why? Because the folks down in Diego Martin telling him, you see, if you link with them people, we want no part of you. So now he's trying to distance himself because his ego has been hurt. He calling them, and what she said last night supports his claim on the interview that he did with Mikey K on the Observer, when he says that they've been calling the UNC and all they're being told is that they're busy, they can't talk to you right now. He said that after he and the NTU invited to the first anti-crime talk, the UNC has not invited them back to anymore, which would have resulted in their decision to hold their own crime talks, which I think is supposed to start next month. And the announcement that they will be fielding 41 candidates, and the UNC announcing that they too will be fielding 41 candidates. So we will see how that is going to pan out. But based on that announcement and the fact that they are now both parties are now inviting persons to come forward to contest the seats, it is apparent there will be no accommodation there, because you can't be both of you all together and both of you all have candidates in the same seats. Right? So Gary, it appears the NTA will not be a part of the attempt to repeat 2010. Who else is left? Pep, Philip Alexander. Well, he say he don't want no part of that. He can't be. And if he were to depart from, then again you can't trust these guys. They want their hands in the treasury so bad they will do anything, even if it means selling their souls to the devil. So you have Pep, you have Hope, but I imagine Gary is now going to pivot away from the UNC and probably now try to court Hope, because Hope still have one or two persons who could command a certain level of respect, but not much. Whose integrity is not as solid as on the yellow side. So people like Louis Lee saying, Timothy Hammersmith, kind of. Not much. But right now, the better bet would be for him to go that way. Who else it have? Now, here we should talk about small parties. Make sure you have to be able to, what you said, have you had an election? Is your, how was your, all of these things she said last night, your deputy political leaders, the leadership of the party, how was that appointed? You didn't have a problem August last year with the fact that the NTA never had an internal election. You didn't have a problem August last year, leading up to the election, with the fact that the leadership of the NTA was appointed by the political leader, Gary Griffith, when he just pulled people. And where you come, I'm making you a deputy political leader because I am master of all I survey. You, come. Same thing with the PEP. Come. Making you a man leave today, pulling our next man inside. The same thing with Watson Duke. Right? Same thing. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the TPP, the Tobago People's Party, has not had an election. So everybody who's sitting there on this so-called interim executive, right? Interim executive. We were told by Mr. Farley Augustine that they would have subsequently had elections. That hasn't happened. So since she's saying, one of the things that they're going to be looking at in terms of the other parties that they would be accommodating. Yeah, we are accommodating all you. So consider yourself fortunate. They want to know, you have to show us your party's constitution. You have to be able to draw a large crowd. You need to be able to show us how your members, your executive members came into office and all of these things. There's been no election. So is it that you're not going to be caught in Farley? Because we know you all want those 2 Tobago seats bad. Real bad. In fact, more so than the marginals, because you know the likelihood is that you all could get your tail cut in the marginals in Trinidad. So they're dependent on those 2 Tobago seats. Real bad. Right? So I hope the PNM and Tobago doing what all they're supposed to do. And not just Ansel Dennis, Kelvin Morris, Shamfa Kojo, and Ayanna Webster Roy. The others, I don't see, well, maybe, I don't know. I don't see them. I don't hear them. Everybody who would have contested the last THE election under the PNM banner. I don't know what role you all playing over there, but understand that there's a general election right around the corner. And we cannot see the same standard bearers doing all of the work when we need all hands on deck. Just say. But let me get this here. I just wanted to touch quickly. Right, so there was something else she mentioned there, I don't know if you all got it, where she talked about those who say that people want something other than the PNM and the UNC, which is what Gary Griffith is saying. And that a vote for either of these 2 parties is a tribal vote, and the implication that the people who vote for the PNM and the UNC vote based on race, and that is not true. Mrs. Prasad, are you hearing yourself? You needed to say that louder for the folks in the back, the folks in the front, and in fact for everybody who's sitting in the room as audience. You needed to say that about 3 or 4 times for them to hear, because it is always the supporters of your party accusing the PNM voters of voting based on race. Always talking, you only vote based on race, and that's why the country where it is. Only vote on substance, only vote in race. And race, every time you hear that, it's always the UNC supporters accusing PNM supporters of voting based on race. We vote for the PNM because Keith Rowley is a black man. Right? Really? And I keep making the point, if that was the case, the UNC would never have won the election in 2010. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar would never be collecting a prime ministerial salary as pension now if PNM supporters used to vote based on race. You would never have won any PNM stronghold seats. Arima, Dabadio Mera, Lopino Bonnet West, and the like. You all would not have won any of those seats if PNM supporters used to vote based on race. You feel the PNM could win Separia? You think the PNM could ever win Oropuch East or Oropuch West? Faizabad? Tabakit? Princestown? Naparima? Why do you think that is so? May I ask you? And at the end of every election where the party that, when the PNM loses election, show me where it is that you have a barrage of racial comments. Show me that on social media. But we saw it in 2015 when the UNC lost, the People's Partnership lost. Barrage, they have no care. Only racist comments. 2020, same thing. But I'm surprised they pat down a little bit for the local government election because they probably figured that's not important. And a lot of them bought into the narrative of their leadership that we win. Yes, we get more votes than the PNM. You all got more votes than the PNM in 2019 too. And you still lost the local election. And then 8 months later, the PNM come and double down from 160,000 votes to over 320,000 votes and put a licking on all here. But continue that. Because you know your supporters need something like that to hold on to. They didn't have much else that they could hold on to. But only fooling your supporters. But PNM supporters is latrine flies. And PNM supporters drinking Balize juice. And PNM supporters are low IQ. All of these different things that they say. Yeah? But then you all keep following Mrs. Prasad Bisesa talking. Seriously? Really, madam? Saying members carry the party on their backs through the toughest times and carry her on their backs in her toughest times. Yeah, I always say the only thing they haven't done yet is when you attend an event for them to lie down in the belly for you to walk on their back, to create a human carpet for you to walk. The rank and file membership will not be used and abused and treated as hewers of wood and drawers of water. Gary, is that how you treat UNC supporters? Prasad Bisesa added, I remember the Pandey days. Our supporters were treated like sheep. The hierarchy of that time would say to bring sheep, and treat our supporters as menial. At every meeting, one or two fellas would walk or rather talk to the sheep. I always detested that treatment of our supporters, and that's why I promote those from our rank and file. She added, smaller parties must be willing to work and carry their weight. It can't be that UNC supporters must be sheep and do almost everything, host events, provide resources, bring supporters, do organization. You must carry your weight. We have a 300,000 membership. Don't play the fool with us. Gary, can I tell you, don't play the fool with her. Watch yourself, right? The 2,000 supporters that you have can't do nothing for the UNC. Okay? So you are dismissed. You have been discarded. Go and sit down. Go to the back of the class. You got a promotion to the front of the class, but now you need to go to the back of the class. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Yeah? Poor you. And up to now, he ain't respond yet, but I think he's supposed to be on Louis Leasing's television station this morning. So perhaps there he will unload and offload. Load up the Matic, cock it back, knock it on them, and knock it again. Gary, we're waiting for the verbal Matic this morning. Let me see if you post anything on your Facebook page as yet. Let me see. Gary, one new. No, P just post, good morning, everyone. I'm on WESN from 7:05 a.m. and then on Tobago updates. Well, we wait to hear what it is you had to say. Poor soul. Well, I feel sorry for the man. He's suffering. He's struggling. Real bad. Now, I did tell you all that this morning was in the interest of time, was a craving indulgence morning. And you all know when I say that what I mean, right? So bear with me. Forgive me, please. But sometimes sometimes you all need a
Doubles are brought to the parliament as prime minister, any other prime minister, as any.
Forgive me.
Doubles and coffee. Let me give you Keith Christopher Rowley's real track record as the laziest, most incompetent prime minister in the history of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Per annum, Keith Rowley has spent more time outside of the country as any other prime minister in history. Keith Rowley's salary, he has earned more money than any other prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Rowley, while he's outside on holiday relaxing, one occasion for 27 days straight, this occasion for 14 days straight and counting, Keith Rowley earns more per diem than any other prime minister, more days than any other prime minister in history.
Keith Rowley has had an acting prime minister for more days than any other prime minister in the country's history. That's 9 years, almost. Eric Williams was prime minister for how many years? From 1956 to 1981. 25 years. 25 years. Now, I have seen much footage of Dr. Williams traveling to a number of countries. Yeah, countries to which Dr. Rowley has not visited. But he's telling you, so when Dr. Williams was out of the country, it had no acting prime minister. Okay. I continue. Anyway.
Rowley has had more holidays and taken more holidays than any prime minister in history. Keith Christopher Rowley has called Parliament and the Senate as the leader of the PM government less times per year than any other prime minister in history. Keith Christopher Rowley stands as the only prime minister in history to bring a budget to the Parliament and not contribute and defend his own budget. Keith Christopher Rowley has logged the least minutes on contributions on bills brought to the Parliament as Prime Minister of the country. Keith Christopher Rowley has hosted less cabinet meetings per year than any other Prime Minister. Keith Christopher Rowley's cabinet meetings run less time than any other Prime Minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Christopher Rowley has had more recusals from cabinet because of conflicts of interest on decisions being taken by his cabinet than any other Prime Minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Christopher Rowley has logged less hours at his constituency office than any other Prime Minister, Minister, or MP in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
And I would also add to that, Keith Rowley logged less helicopter flying hours than his predecessor. We could do a comparison. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Sushila, logged more helicopter flying hours than any other prime minister in the history of the Caribbean and perhaps of the world. Over 640 something hours of flying time. 600 and something missions or something so. Or 400 and something missions. Yes, 640 something hours of flight time. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has spent more money on helicopter rides than any other prime minister in the history of the Caribbean. Let me talk about that. $6.2 million. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has spent more money, taxpayers' money, on a sibling than any other prime minister in this country's history. Let me remind all of the figures. Did you know that from June 1st, 2010 to March 31st, 2012, right, less than 2 years, you, Mr. and Mrs. Trinidad and Tobago taxpayer, paid $868,268.11 for Kamala's sister, Vidwati Newton, to travel all over the world. I ain't done with the Doglaya yet. Miami and Jamaica, July 4 to 8, 2010. You, Mr. Taxpayer, some of you all who don't even have a passport, some of you all who have a passport but only using it as ID, don't even know what the inside of a plane look like. You, Mr. Taxpayer, paid $40,235 so Vidwati could play nurse. Yes, to help Kamala to put on her bra and to give her her pills, her diabetes pills and her high blood pressure pills and everything else. New York, August 13th to 22nd. You, Mr. Taxpayer, right? Who the only time you ever see a plane was probably when you were passing around by the airport and you were lucky enough to see one. $45,480.90. New York, September 20th to 28th, $47,203, but you're talking about Rowley per diem. Washington, November 8th to 10th, $21,783.49. London, March 12th to the 21st, 2011, $60,440. Washington, April 4th to 9th, $32,022.75. Brazil, April 24th to May 1st, $21,881.29. I think that was probably when she went to the World Cup with her grandson dressed like Spider-Man. St. Kitts, July 1st to 3rd, $11,464. New York, September 19th to 30th, $15,826. Australia, October 19th to November 7th, $338,329.19. India, January 2nd to 17th, 2012, $233,600. So on 2 trips alone, the trip to Australia and the trip to India, you, Mr. Taxpayer, paid almost $600,000 so Vidwati could go on. Remember Jumbo Jet? Jumbo Jet. Don't forget that. They didn't fly commercial. Prasad Bisasa called up Caribbean Airlines and say, I need a plane for my very own so that I can go to these 2 countries. So I can arrive like a big Sawati. Understand? You see this come off plane and go on next. You take 1 plane and then when you reach out, come off and go through immigration and then board a next plane and then stop off somewhere else and take a next plane. I ain't had time for that. I want 1 straight flight from Trinidad to Australia. I want 1 straight flight from Trinidad to India. So when I arrive, they must say, hey, let the plane with the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister reach when they see a touchdown, right? When Dr. Rowley went to China or wherever it is, Australia and so on, they couldn't do that because it's a normal plane he take. He had to stop off in New York or wherever it is, board another plane like everybody else. Remember the other day when they made a issue where he and Ralph Gonzalez and I can't remember who else it was when the airport, and then they had to call them back to verify something with their passport and so on. And there, you see, watch, they have respect for you there. You know why that is? Because he didn't do what Kamala did. Take a whole jumbo jet and say I'm flying straight from Trinidad too because I'm a Hefe. So Kamala Prasad Bisasa holds the record for spending the most amount of taxpayers' money to lease jumbo jet that could hold 200 people, but you carry 40-something people. Right? So you're carrying a delegation, a trade delegation. And on the plane, what they're doing, drinking champagne and eating the best and drinking the best. Yeah? Keith Rowley didn't do that. But I continue, again, in the interest of time.
MP in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Christopher Rowley has taken less tours of the country to see disparate spots and areas that require attention than any other prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Christopher Rowley has shaken less hands of the people as prime minister than any other prime minister in history. Keith Christopher Rowley has attended less sporting events and mingled with the people less than any other prime minister in history. Keith Christopher Rowley is the laziest, slowest, most incompetent prime minister of all time. Keith Christopher Rowley has no agenda for parliament. Keith Christopher Rowley, his senators have adjourned the Senate to a date to be chosen more than any other prime minister in history. Keith Christopher Rowley.
Yeah, because there's only so much of you we could take in the parliament. Every time you go in there, your stench, right? Your stench is there. It is left there. There's only so much people can listen from you and the likes of you and Wade, Mark and David Naked. The less time we'll spend inside there is the better for the parliament and the population of Trinidad and Tobago. There's less trash, less garbage is recorded on Hansard for the future generations to have to listen to or to read, because you all contribute nothing of substance. So why it is we need to be calling the Senate, convening the Senate so you all could come and do what? Bring us at frivolous motions and talk trash and garbage? No, stop wasting parliament time.
More than any other prime minister in history, Keith Christopher Rowley has spent less time in his constituency than any MP or prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Yet, he has overseen more money, put more of his friends to control your money, spent more money, has impacted the economy in a way to decimate people's futures more than any prime minister in history. Yet you continue to pay this club. Let that soak in for a little bit. Soak it in, Soak it in. You're spending your money to pay a lazy, arrogant, insipid, spineless, heartless, oppressive dictator. We serious? Let's.
We know you know plenty about soaking. But he says that, Keith Rowley decimated the economy. Let me just read this quickly, this Newsday article dated yesterday. Prestige Holdings records 56% increase in profits. For the financial year 2023, Prestige Holdings Limited recorded a profit before tax of 84 million compared to 54 in 2022, an increase of 56%, according to its published consolidated audited financial results for For the 12 months ended November 30th, 2023, Prestige Holdings increased. Revenue increased by 20% to $1.3 billion from $1.1 billion. The financial year was one of investment and growth, and there has been significant effort and success towards returning our business operation to pre-pandemic levels and achieving sustainable growth and profitability. Chairman Christian Mute in his report said all our brands posted significant operational and financial improvements over the previous year, and the group's overall profitability was a historical high and reflective of the investments in our people and assets. Mute added that Prestige Holdings Limited has made significant investments in growing its operations both in Trinidad and Tobago and its external markets. So in an economy that is decimated, Prestige Holdings continues to invest. Record high. Let me just get the term that you used here. Right? The group's overall profitability was a historical high. Historical high. You know what that means? It was far better than anything we accomplished between 2010 to 2015. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister. Historical high. But the economy in a mess. And the economy has been decimated. Right? But let me just play one more thing for you before I open the lines. I apologize for playing that and doing that to you all this morning, but I felt the need to do it. I had to. Forgive me. One more thing to play. Listen to how an erudite, competent Prime Minister behaves. Listen to the words of such a Prime Minister, right? Listen to this.
And how can you seriously put the name of whatever it is you're going to do next week? How to what? How to land grab and get away with it? Are you for real? Are you serious? How to land grab and get away with it? And you have a minister comments, I think. And Minister Becker's going down there with his former PNM councillor in charge of the Heliconia to go and tell people how to land grab and get away with it. Shame. Disgraceful. These people have absolutely no care for anything. And then those two ministers have nothing to do with lands. If they come to tell us, oh, we're going to see about land tenure for farmers and so on. But we're the minister who in charge of land for farmers. It's done with such a damaging report. Okay, somebody sent me a note. They said the Heliconia graphic was Photoshop. It is not about land grabbing, but about land tenure. My point still hold. My point still hold. My point still hold. My point still hold. What is Cummins going to tell you about land tenure? He can't even show documents on which land he have or don't have. What is Ms. Beckers going to tell you about land tenure? Thank you for the heads up. But I'm still right in my comments to you.
Thank you for the heads up. Somebody let Ms. Prasad Bisesa know. A heads up has come before, right? Not after. Not after you've made a complete assembly of yourself. That wasn't a heads up, madam. If it was a heads up, you would not have made a complete idiot of yourself. That you don't know or cannot discern what is Photoshop. But then again, you're the same one who told us that the Room 201 video was PNM Voodoo and PNM Photoshop, right? That you spoke with Anil, you got a report and you are satisfied that that was Photoshop. So we're not surprised. But that is the political leader of the United National Congress. This is the woman that Anil Roberts holds up to be the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah? And when you were shown to be wrong and foolish, what you do? My point still holds. No, your point doesn't hold. Your point was based on a falsehood, a lie, propaganda. So it can't hold in the face of when the truth is presented. But that is what he compares to Dr. Rowley. Right? Dr. Rowley is the laziest Prime Minister. Okay. Laziest Prime Minister, no problem. So you say. Ah, boy. Right. 7701763. The same man who told us, she now fighting with the same man who told us what? She used to take 5-day weekends. 5-day weekends. But Keith Rowley is the laziest Prime Minister. That loudmouth, bald-headed idiot talking about, let me just get this here, right? Talking about Dr. Rowley holds the shortest cabinet meetings. Well, he don't need to hold long cabinet meetings like Kamala because he doesn't have a cabinet of 33 ministers like she did, right? So 33 people had to talk. He don't need that. And when they bring stuff to cabinet, they know how to be succinct, precise. You don't need to set a whole talk and half the cabinet meeting is, what you drinking? Huh? Punching? Yeah. What you taking? Scotch on the rocks? You? What is it? Vodka? All right, no problem. Yeah. We need to take a 20-minute break. Yeah, we need some libation, you know? Yeah, because the prime minister throat dry from all the talking and she talking. And you see she started lick the lip. You know, yeah, we need to take a 20-minute break. Tuesday. Let me see if I get this. That's no. Hold on, caller. Let me just make the switch. Forgive me. Turn this off. Turn this on. Connect this. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I want some snacks, eh? Need some Cheetos, need some Pringles, and I need some snacks. I need some Grey Goose, some punch and rum, some whiskey, some champagne, some Prosecco. Remember the 5-day weekend, lady?
Yes.
5+ years? That is fraud. When you don't work every single day, what you are paid for, it is fraud. You must be hauled before the court in civil bracelets and pay with compound interest. Remember these words? I have name of ancestors. What is that? PM Rowley never glorified slavery because our ancestors were taken by force from their home, old ones, young ones, and baby in womb, and brought to this nation and the Caribbean. She is the only person who verified the horror of slavery. He forget that. She was the only prime minister who vomited by Gandhi's statue. He forgot that. He was the only one who had corrupt people in the party and Ram. He forgot that. He forgot David Lee. He forgot Jack Warner. Anel, are you senile? You forget all those things conveniently. But we are here to remind you of life support. The one in life support of the money was spent on Daniel. Pretty convenient, so we are rolling weed. You're the only one who was rolling weed. I was the only one who had a green perfect substance in the yard. The only prime minister. From Eric Williams to PM Rowley. What fraud they on? You see? What did they steal, Anil? How you forgetful, Sue? Forgetful Jones? How convenient for you, Anil? You don't mention Kamala's track record. How much thing did she win without help? She kicked out Pandy from the party. She destroyed, she raped the party. You went to Pandy funeral like he was the wife. Papa following you. Did PM do it to anybody else? Prime Minister anybody else? No. He didn't do that. He knows his place. Michaela called PM Rowley name and his wife. You only was barely a mention. And I forget about that. The infighting in the UNC. And I forget it too. Is all kind of man rat and crap. I'm not sure what is man with woman. The marriage between Kamala and Gary. Didn't last long, Gary. And we forget that too. Because they are both virgins in the bed. The marriage, the bedroom didn't last long. The hotel didn't take place. They get married only on paper. Tell me, Anil, what did UNC win without help? See them stands alone, wins alone, lose alone. You forgot that, Anil. How convenient for you. Buy their house, it's them house, then renting. They pay their dues. Or you have a light bulb, a pothole, and a bench. So what have you done with all the money you will have? When Kamala's sister was a passport, what kind of school in government? Was she a nurse? And if you're a nurse, right, you have so much vacation per year. We are PS. We are minister. You have vacation. If you're doing government business, you have time in government business. But a private citizen, you have no money to get. Nepotism. That is fraud. I want my money back now. Don't have a good day, my darling. Later, people. Bye.
You too. Thank you. 770-1763. Joycelyn Small White, morning. Let me see. Someone says KPB is the most illiterate lawyer. Up to this day, she's never answered Israel Khan's questions to her. Tell us about your qualifications for silk. See here. See. So, I'm going to call us this morning, 770-1763. I see Chester Sembrano wants to create a bacchanal on what they are saying about fast food. Asking Domino and KFC for their comments. Yes, I saw that, and both said they want the opportunity to hear exactly what the minister said first before they speak. Right. PF Cutters says, wait, this nonsense is what Anil Roberts is saying. Dr. Rowley didn't go out to shake hands like Kamala did, and she was voted out. Is what he on about? What a total retard. Absolutely. Angela says, Keith Christopher Rowley never get drunk, piss up the PM's car, fall long and Gandhi statue, or enter the hallowed halls of, on entering the hallowed halls of the parliament. Where is the information comparison? Ask him about how much recusals cabinet meetings he did compared to other PMs. Yes. You know, I still had to bring back that the recusals from that administration between 2010 to 2015. I think when I come back from my trip, we will revisit that because I didn't get down into it as much as I should have. Cam said that she has 300,000 votes and small parties need to bring votes and not social media votes. Yes, she did say that, and they will not be disrespected. They want to close nomination, yes, because apparently she says Gary, basically implied that Gary only operates on social media. But outside of that, he does nothing else. What my call is this morning, 770-1763. I mean, I said I had a wrap up early this morning, but I could probably give you all another 15 minutes or so. If not, well, we will chat on Thursday. So there was, let's see if I'll find this here. This one. Wait, search this. Right. Did I save this here, Moy? Did I save this here? Just now. Let me see if I get this here. No, it wasn't here. Okay, my phone working, but I don't understand. Well, all right. Well, I'll give you 5 more minutes, and then we'll have to.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call Don Stevens, okay?
No,
I won't do it.
You see here. I think the Secretary Assemblyman Trevor James is supposed to be on this morning on Tobago Updates. And the title is Debunking Lies. I wonder where they get that from, boy, debunking lies. Anyway, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Me again.
Yes, ma'am.
How Charles always know what PNM does is truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it's him, it's a lie. Notice for something, eh?
Yes.
Everything PNM does is lie.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when it comes to them, it's truth. How is that? Make it make sense. The room with Anel, PNM voodoo.
Yes.
Email get fact. Khan and Williams was truth. How was that? The overtone badge, PNM caused that. Cocaine, PNM fell. It have a agreement between Venezuela and Trinidad, right?
Yes.
Fact. So they have no proof, you know, but it's a fact. When it comes to rancid Charles, crazy Charles, sellout Charles, Dumbo Charles, wholesale retired Charles, it is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they call PNM a rapist with no proof, fact. Mrs. Rowley have another man from India, fact. You can slander, you can take it. If you can slander people's name, take it. You know how the house was built by Balance, the house? How much kickback they get?
Yes.
You had facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it is now when greasehead, ballhead, no-head, wholesale donkey, wholesale butthole, wholesale rectum, anus, anal, number 2, things come against him as a fact. Rodney, why are you offended? You open the door. Remove the walls and the roof. So when the rain beat you up, it is because you open the door. If sun roast your blast brain cells, you open the door. Don't play mass and fake powder. Be a man, be a man. Because of the shoe, squeeze your cornea, you're crying. Don't cry, Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
Don't cry in Argentina. The children will never left you. Well, guess what? What they don't cry today. We have no picture. You and Robert are the same damn thing. Wholesale dotish. You have a PNM banker. Great PNM, and we will prevail. We win alone, and alone we lose alone. Don't need your help. We know who we are, and we are great. Come with another joke. Come on, God. Bye-bye later.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. Get this here. Hello, good morning.
Hi, and
morning.
Very good morning to you, Dominic.
Same to you.
Dominic, you know, I'm looking on at the American politics.
Mm-hmm.
It is so interesting to watch the similarities between the Republican Party and the UNC.
Very much so.
Donald Trump has over 91 charges. He was twice impeached, right? He has already been found guilty of sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
And yet still he's leading the party.
Yes.
Not only that, you have persons like Mitch McConnell, whose wife Donald Trump called ugly, right?
Yes.
On the 6th of January, when the episode happened on the 6th of January, he came out against Donald Trump. But last night you're hearing he's going to be endorsing Donald Trump. And it reminds me of Kamala and like Gary and like Anil and all those others who will just forgets, what it and ready to jump on board with the UN. These people has no morality. And when you look at politics today, it's the same worldwide. We talk about Trinidad being a banana republic, but looking on at what's happening in the States, I think we are first world. And boy, Dominic, have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
For your great program.
Thank you. And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, you have David Lee with his on charges, $1 million bail. You have Anil Ram, who's still the subject of investigation. But I don't know why these investigations take so long. You have Kamala Prasad Bisesa continuing to endorse Ramdeen and Ramlogan, even though Ramlogan now seems to have turned against them. And he, in a recent interview that he did with Ian Allen, was basically chastising the UNC for their position with respect to the dragon gas. You notice they ease off of that now, right? They ain't talking about dragon gas much these days. These days, we're talking about crime. But he was of the view that their position is totally untenable and that they don't want anything good for the country. But there are over 300,000 persons, or so they'd have us believe, who are still inclined to put these people back in office. You have over 300,000 people who support that party who would have no problem with Anand Ramlogan returning as Attorney General. But all of the claims that we've had, that despite the fact that this man is still before the courts on charges of witness tampering, despite the fact that he and Ramdeen got off on a technicality with respect to the legal fees kickback, they have no problems in having these guys come back into office and serve as government ministers. And that is what is unfortunate. Over 300,000 people. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I realize the line's well quiet this morning, so I'm going to call to say good morning.
Thank you so much.
I feel it's a late start, though.
Probably.
Yeah, I feel it's a late start.
Yes.
Well, have a good day, man.
You too, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, they have no problems with putting these people back in office. That you have Barry Padarak, where we would have read on numerous occasions. He used to tote Kamala's handbag, but yet still, you and your mother opened a company in 2011 and got millions and millions of dollars in contracts. You all bid on projects, state government projects. Your bid was the highest, and you bid against companies that had years and years of experience. You and your mother's company have zero experience, but yet still, you all won the bid with the highest bid over companies with years of experience. And if that had happened under the PNM, it would have been a horse of a different color. You gave the Prime Minister 2 checks totaling $135,000 and can't remember why you gave it to her. And the reasoning that she gave is absolute nonsense, rubbish. Well, it can't be serious. If it was Dr. Rowley, we wouldn't hear the end of that. They want to know where the Integrity Commission, how many Integrity Commissions have come and gone since that is alleged to have happened. And up to now, we don't know what is the status of the investigation, what's going on with that. Well, they cannot be serious. Cannot be serious, but we'll support that and we'll vote for that. And when it is that you point it to them and you show them the articles, look, speak to this, deny this now. They can't do that. They cannot do that. What they do, the default argument is always to talk about Rowley. Going back to the anti-Rowley campaign, call Rowley a rapist and Rowley's a pedophile and all of that. Talk about how Fitzgerald Hines was sitting on a horse and riding a horse with a man with a 8-year-old child and all kind of stupidness. Talk about how Rowley and the red couch. Talk about how Rowley wife owned him. That's what they could talk about. But deal with the substance. Are these things true or not? Read what is contained in the articles and let us see you deny it. They can't do that. But they're prepared to put these people back in office who have shown themselves to be dishonest, who have shown themselves. When you have people like Rishi Tripathi, what I read for you all yesterday, where he is talking about, let me read it again for you. I don't want to misquote anybody. For those who might have missed it, let me just get it again. Where is Mr. Tripathi? Let me just see if I get this right. Where is it? Yes, nothing wrong with demanding more from our leaders. Agreed, they have let us down in a number of ways, but it is appalling to see what members of parliament and senators earn. Notice he didn't confine this to the PNM, and this is a UNC man is saying this. what members of parliament and senators earn. Pay them whatever, but demand the best outcomes and punish their wrongdoings 10 times harsher than the average man would face. Let's see who signs up for the job then. We need intelligent, brave, and revolutionary thinkers, not criminals, traffickers, and hand-to-mouths who defraud the state in the most trivial of ways. Understand that there is nobody on the PNM bench right now who is accused of trafficking, human trafficking. So we know who he's speaking about. He's speaking about persons from his own camp. And it shows that they understand, and he's a young man, right? So that the future generation of UNC voters, to some extent, those who are not tribal, like the elders of the party, and who choose to vote based on issues and not based on contrary to what Prasad Bisesa said, race, because Satmaral said he will free up the Hindu vote. And look what is happening now with the SDMS. Right now they're in a war with Gary on one side, they are in a war with the SDMS with Satmarad's son. So it's all kind of bacchanal going on, right? But that is good to put back into office. Hello, good morning.
Mr. Rowley.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Greetings.
Now, listen. For a while, I'm going to tell you, I take serious umbrage to certain people comparing some of our politicians to donkeys or asses.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Mr. Romain, I'm in my 60s. I was born and I grew up in farming.
Yes.
And the donkey was a very important part of our livelihood.
Right.
It was a source of manure for the garden. It was the source of transportation, because in those days we hadn't stove, it's firewood. You understand?
Yes.
And the people from farming had large families because they could have afforded to feed them. The majority of people had what you call provision gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I grew up with a lot of donkeys because almost every household had a donkey. And the donkeys that I had association with were plenty smarter than some of the politicians we have out there now. So comparing some of the politicians to donkeys is bringing down the name of donkeys, I feel, international. Because I feel plenty of them a little more dotish than some of the donkeys I knew. I have one piece of advice for many of the politicians. And I've said that for years. You know them long-time cassette recorders?
Yes.
You used to walk around with? They had single speaker, double speaker.
Mm-hmm.
You could have just pressed record and stand up out there and speak. And you could have put your voice onto a little cassette.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest that many of them, you could still get it. You could go on Amazon and still get it. Record what it is they have to say and play it back and listen to it. Before they come out and talk so much of trash that you hear every day. You understand?
Yes.
And by the way, before Abulama, you mentioned the American political system.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine Mr. Trump says to Mr. Tim Scott that when you were campaigning to offer yourself up as the GOP candidate, you were a shadow, a shell. The only time you became vibrant is when you started supporting me. You understand?
Yes.
You have this man insulting black people every day. And you have black people sit down in the GOP as if, which part? Like they high or something. I watch Mr. Tim Scott grinning like a little monkey. Every day Donald Trump is insulting black people. You understand? Like the same man who said during the course of the Black Lives Matter protest, when they were asking him to remove the statues of the various Confederate soldiers in states, he said that they wanted, the Black Lives Matter wanted him to remove statues of his heroes. Do you know what the Confederate army was fighting for? I sit down in the Caribbean and I know that the Confederate army that was built up of the 11 dissident states in the South of America were fighting to maintain slavery. You understand? And I am like that. I am the only black person out here who know that. Because I can't see how you as a black person could associate yourself with people who consider you literally to be trash. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But then, maybe I was always questioning the level of my intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I am the one who is stupid. Anyhow, the first thing I told you about the donkey, that was it.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
That's
I agree.
what
You too, sir. Thank you. Not surprised. Dr. Ben Carson. Yeah, the other night he stand up behind Trump, most prominent. And listen, anyway, folks, I did say I had to leave early today, so it's 8:19. Thank you all so much for joining me this morning. Always a pleasure to chat with you, and we will chat again on Thursday. Hopefully by then, Mr. Griffith would have responded to Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, whether by written correspondence or based on the many interviews that he's going to do. And I'm sure people on these interviews will ask him about what Prasad-Bissessar said last night and what are his thoughts. So, and you know, Gary's ego is not going to allow for that. So interesting times ahead. But to my friend Roxanne, remind us we need to bring out the brooms. Time to bring out the brooms. Don't wait. I mean, again, we complained the other day, when are we going to get more meetings from our party, the PNM? We can't be having a public meeting once in a blue moon, once a quarter or twice a quarter. We have a year and something to go. We should be having meetings at least every 2 weeks. The PNM supporters want to hear from our leaders too. Not every Monday night we don't want to be here in Monday night forum. If they talk Monday, well, let's say you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something. Please, please, please. We beg in. We want to hear. There needs to be pushback from the top, not just the middle and lower levels, from all levels of the party. So, folks, please, come on now, help us out now. I beg in. Doc, I know you're out of the country, but when you come back, call a meeting, please. We beg in. Thank you. Please and thanks. I'll bring out all the brooms there. We ain't making joke with that. All right? So, enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Thank you, Roxanne, for bringing my brooms again. And those brooms, the numbers are increased on a daily basis. So we're not playing. Let's see if I go and find a cookie broom somewhere. But, yeah, sweep and clean. We're not taking any chances in 2025. Right? Treasury is at stake. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks, and we will chat on Thursday morning, God's willing. Yeah? So that's it for me today.